Tomorrow afternoon marks 25 years since the shooting of undercover Syracuse police officer Wally Howard. A special ceremony will remember the dedicated officer who gave his life that day. Attending that ceremony, the highest-ranking woman in the history of the Syracuse Police Department. Matt has more.
Well, Lisa, 25 years ago tomorrow, Becky Thompson was right in the middle of the darkest day of the department in nearly a century, the shooting of Officer Wally Howard. It's a day that changed her life. As we go up close with Thompson all these years later, she wears brass stars like no other woman has in the department's 167 years.
You know, today is a day almost just like the day Wally was shot. Sunny, I think it was a little warmer. It was just a beautiful fall day in Syracuse.
She routinely returns to the worst day of her life. That day you were over at the shoe store then?
Yes.
You were in a car or a van?
We were in a minivan, actually.
Most would stay away, but not Becky Thompson.
What money?
At that moment, it was chaotic. Everything kind of crashed in. When we got to Wally, his door was locked, so we had to break the window behind him in order to unlock the door to get to him.
She embraces the past. It's made her who she is today.
I had the city portable radio, so I was the one that called for an ambulance. We got Wally out of the car, and we knew it wasn't good.
The darkest day for a proud Syracuse police force. A quarter century later, the grief remains.
You know, I can't say that I don't shed a tear or two, because I do. It's still hard.
Yet she accepts the challenge. This daughter of a 22-year veteran of the Syracuse police grew up wanting to follow her father. She took the exam at 19, hired at 20. A year and a half later, she was working undercover, making drug buys, when cocaine and crack littered our community. Cocaine.
You know, this corner where you're standing, a lot of drugs are being sold.
Crack.
We watch them very closely.
Cash. No longer living in the dangerous world of the overnight shift, Becky Thompson is now the Uniform Bureau Deputy Chief, in charge of most of the men and women in uniform.
I like dealing with the public. We are the first responders. We are the 911 responders. You know, we're the first people that go no matter what the situation is. And so it's an honor and a privilege for me to be able to be in command of the men and women that work in this city.
No other woman has ever risen as high in the ranks of the SPD. Did you aspire to be in the position you're in today?
I wanted to have rank. I wanted to take the sergeant's test. I knew I wanted to be a sergeant, maybe a lieutenant. I never dreamt of being a deputy chief. You know, but as the opportunities presented themselves, certainly I wasn't going to turn it down. It didn't start out being because I wanted to progress women. It was really more of a selfish matter because I was the mom. I did have children. I established a family, and there were certain policies that I just didn't think were fair. And it wasn't necessarily to change it because I was a woman, but to change it because of the circumstance I was in.
She recently was the statewide president of Women in Law Enforcement. She believes diversity strengthens the force, whether it be cultural, racial, or gender. Do you have a sense of being a woman in this position that nobody's ever been in that position before? Is that important? Somebody have to be first?
Yes, it is important, and somebody does have to be first. And I know that behind me will be a line of very competent, very professional, very successful women. So I don't believe that by any means I will be the last.
Chief Thompson is the last working member of the Central New York Drug Task Force who was on the job the day drug dealers shot and killed Officer Wally Howard.
It took me a long time to really be able to sit down and think hard and long and come to grips with what happened, and if something could have been different, if there was something I could have done or we could have done. and it required a lot of faith, and I think really relying on the people that were there that day.
Plus, the exceptional officer whose life ended that sunny October day.
I can't say that every call I have ever went on that Wally crosses my mind, but he crosses my mind every day. So he's a part of who I am today because of what happened. So I'll give him credit.
Credit to the partner, the friend with the infectious smile who loved life, only to have his end too soon. Let's go. We'll be back at that gravesite tomorrow at Oakwood Cemetery. Becky Thompson's been on the force for more than 30 years. I asked her if she could see herself one day being the chief, the top job, and she said with a bit of a smile, she sees how demanding it is for Chief Frank Fowler. She's pretty happy where she is right now, although, as she said, if somebody asked her, would she turn it down? I don't know. She's pretty sharp.
I was just going to ask you that, but I have to say, great piece. I mean, you know, it's hard not to get emotional looking at that, and you know, the loss that she still feels and how he impacted her life, and you know, what a life he had. So really good piece.
Yes,
there.
remarkable, and thank you. And so many close to him really still feel it poignantly, let alone the community in general. Now tomorrow, Officer Howard's funeral, well, this is what it looked like 25 years ago. It attracted thousands of officers from around the nation. Tomorrow there'll be another show of support by law enforcement. Retired officers will be among those joining in a moment of silence community-wide at 2:24 tomorrow afternoon. Take a moment and pause if you remember the instant Robert Lawrence fired that fatal gunshot. Former Police Chief Lee Hunt will be there tomorrow. Howard's family, Syracuse Mayor Stephanie Miner, will all be front and center for the ceremony in Foreman Park.
Here's what's happening right now across New York City.